Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. I'm your host, Ollie. I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hello, guys.
Hello, mate.
Good evening.
How we doing? Isn't it nice to have a midweek off from intense stress and strain of watching Arsenal play football? It's a rarity and it's very welcome. In this show, we're just going to look back at what happened at West Ham at the weekend, which was quite a lot, really, for a pretty average game of football. But as ever, here are my questions for this show, in no particular order. Thinking back on maybe the game since Christmas, possibly, but any game, I want to know which game's final 10 minutes have been the most torturous this season. And for reference, we've got Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, Brighton, maybe. Okay, question 2. With 3 games left of the season, who was our player of the season? I've thrown that one out a couple of times. Question 3. Had we dropped points against West Ham, would you have forgiven Arteta for that substitution?
I feel like that's a loaded question.
Why? And the final question. Does Sunday's performance help guard against complacency against Burnley and Palace, or will we think it's already won? So they're my questions, okay? But let's start with a bit of vibe focus. Steph, you were at the game.
I was.
How are you feeling now about what happened, the result, the performance?
Slightly bewildered. It's hard to process because there was so many phases and emotions in the game. I said in the instant reaction, I'd literally been through every single emotion, but the overriding one, thankfully, is the absolute explosion when Trossard put the ball in the back of the net, which was a mixture of relief and joy and delight and, yeah, some positive anger, if that's even an emotion. It was amazing.
I'm curious, in the ground, I know you're not privy to what's going on with regards to VAR and replays and what are they looking at and so on, but you obviously were aware that there was something, and then Kavanagh was sent to the screen, so you're hopeful at this point, and he spends an eternity, what feels like an eternity, at the screen, and then he comes and he does the TV thing, and then he utters those immortal words after review.
I have a dream.
I have a dream, yeah. Was that moment, for me, like I was pretty much on my knees at that moment when I realised that, because I'd gone from the release of the Trossard goal to then the tension, the build up, and then in the fourth of 6 minutes of stoppage time, the absolute abject despair, the sinking feeling, the almost nauseous feeling in the pit of my stomach that we've basically lost the league. That was how I felt, and then the hang on a minute, the hope. And what is it they say about hope?
Yeah.
So was that moment when you realised that the goal was chalked off? What was that like? That moment, that second?
It was like celebrating another goal. You know, it didn't quite hit the heights of the Trossard goal because it's obviously just a different thing. It's administration, so it's hard to get too excited about it. But
more relief, was it?
That was pure relief. I'd say we got away with one. We didn't get away with one. It was a foul, but. That you just assume, oh, that's it, that's kind of done. And it was always the fear I had about West Ham, because they were going to go down swinging and they were always going to be dangerous. And
because it was definitely a foul didn't mean that VAR would disallow it.
That is also true.
And also, can I just point out as well that both me and you, Steph, in the instant reaction said we're struggling to see how that was given. You said it was really soft at the time. in your, because obviously you'd only seen it in the flesh, and I'd only seen it in the flesh, and that without the benefit of replay and seeing the stills and whatever. So it's now
on that decision. Have you guys seen the release of the audio from VAR? Right, no. Really fascinating, because they go through it really methodically, and they do look at the Trossard foul, air quotes. They do look at the Rice foul, air quotes. They very, very quickly point to spot Pablo's arm and the hand on the arm. But you know what they don't do at all? Zoom in from behind. No, zoom in from behind. And so they don't ever see or comment on the shirt pulled down by Todibo at the back, which probably had as big an impact on preventing Raya from jumping up. But they didn't even see it. No. It was only after the event, when people started pouring over, all of a sudden you could see their shirt. And I think that's what made up most neutral observers' minds to the fact that it was it was a foul all day long. So I know, like I said, Chris, you saw replays. I saw replays. I didn't see, before I saw the shirt pull from behind, that if I was watching live as it was happening, I'd be like, I'm not sure this is going to get over. I'd have been worried. I'd have been nervous about it. But when you combine the hand and but they did, they went through it really methodically, to the point where I wonder why this isn't available to certainly the TV viewers live, because the commentators can listen in on it. Because there was no excitement or panic in their exchange. It was all very, very calm and collected and methodical.
It should be. They're professionals,
So why can't we hear it?
But then that's the thing about just making sure that they're controlling the narrative in some way.
And also, why didn't they see that angle from behind? Because that could have been the clincher. Can you imagine then they decided there wasn't enough impact from Pablo, and so they allowed the goal to stand, and then after the game they then saw the shirt ball. So I hope their big learning from that is to make sure they zoom in on both, because they saw the front view and then they said, right, can we zoom in on that, please? But they saw the back view then, but they didn't say zoom in on that. So
my perspective is we're in the away end, we are lower tier, but we're the other end of the pitch. And at West Ham, that's a million miles away.
That's a different postcode. Anyway,
but interestingly, so again, in real time, no idea. There's just bodies in the box, like there always is. The VAR review happens. No one's getting. Few people are getting messages here and there, but again, it's not clear cut in the sense. So there was no obvious we're getting messages from people saying it definitely is or definitely isn't. It was very sort of grey area. But after the decision had been made, he uttered those immortal words that I'm sure people will have tattooed on them or something like that.
Provided we win the next 2 games, yeah.
Very good point. We haven't won anything yet.
Yes.
But they did show a replay in the ground on big screen. But wait, it was just one replay, not quite full speed, but certainly not super slow-mo. And it's just that kind of corner front angle where the ball goes over the top and you just see the bodies. And everyone's eye is kind of distracted by, is it Hermansen, the West Ham keeper, kind of diving across. So all those details about the arm and his holding his arm across his throat, the pulling of the shirt, none of that subtlety. So basically all it made Arsenal fans do was go, well, what did we see? Why was it ruled out? And West Ham fans go, nothing there, there's nothing there, is there? And it just created this sense of injustice. It just made it worse. And that's why in the instant reaction, I was like, I'm not sure, we might have got away with one there. And now you see it afterwards, you're like, oh, it's a foul. Yeah. Okay.
So for the disclosure, I ought to say at this point, as soon as that goal went in, I slammed the laptop shut and went for a walk. And I thought, and it was all that, my mind was going at 1,000 miles an hour, and I was going, maybe Bournemouth can do it, can't they? They can get, if they've got a draw, then we'll be back. And then, so I was doing all the mental arithmetic and all these permutations, what's that film, The Beautiful Mind, where it's all these kind of algebraic formulae swirling around. And I went to the loo and I'm washing my hands and I'm scrubbing my face. And I came back and I opened the laptop again gingerly, and not to the game, but to the BBC website. And it was that kind of live reporting thing where it's just text and it said VAR. And that's when I re-engaged with the game, and they were still debating it. So that's when I re-engaged with the game. Can I just say as well, what I think is really interesting about this whole debate, now that we're on it, is the Darren what's-his-face referee that they wheeled out on
Darren
Match of the
Can.
Day.
He's from my part of the world.
Linesman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was interesting about that was how a lot of people, a lot of the talk around it now is not just about that incident, but about all the pushing and shoving and blocking that was going on leading up to it. And he said, in those situations where you have a lot of that in a dead ball situation, you've got a lot of jostling. If they blew up for every time there was a foul, there'd be 6 penalties in every game. So what they do is they look for the most egregious foul within that context. And that's what they focus on. Yes, there was a bit of holding. Yes, you see Rice with his arms around Mavropanos. If that's in isolation and the guy's running through on goal in, free passage of play, of course that's going to be a foul. But the bar goes a lot higher when it's a dead ball situation and you're looking for the most egregious foul, which I think was a really interesting point to make.
It's not the most egregious foul. It's the foul that has the biggest impact on
where
the ball is about to land.
But what I'm saying is, if you looked in isolation at the Rice on Mavropanos or whatever other tussle was going on, then you would say, well, that's a foul as well. So
I'm glad you mentioned Darren Can, because I have written it down here. I want to talk about the BBC's Match of the Day too, because I really want to. He was brilliant, Darren Can. The way he broke it down, and the BBC set Shay Given up perfectly. Now I've got connections to Shay Given. I like the family. I know the family, and they're lovely and I love them. Right. However, Shay's got a bit of saltiness towards Arsenal for some reason. I don't know whether it's the Villa Cup final when we stuffed them 4-0 and he was in goal. I don't know what it is, but a few times this season he's jumped on the anti-Arsenal bandwagon.
He played for Man City.
So they set, well, possibly, they set him up because Darren Can methodically broke down the foul first, so that when Shay Given started to speak, he had to acknowledge what Darren Can had said, which kind of stole his thunder a little bit. But the real priceless stitch up from the BBC on Shay Given came because Danny Murphy followed him. And Danny Murphy schooled Shay Given on how to analyse an incident properly, how to analyse methodically, how to analyse without looking through the prism of your anti-Arsenal bias. It was brilliant. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's like 2 minutes and it's great. And who knew Danny Murphy would be the defender of Arsenal? And Shay Given start talking about but it's the inconsistencies. And Danny Murphy said, well, surely you want the correct decisions being consistent, not the bad. And Shay just had nothing. It was brilliant. And I hope it kind of forces a little bit of introspection from pundits like Shay Given. Now, there are others out there. It's like unanimously, even West Ham fans all acknowledge it was a foul, and they can understand why on that basis the goal was disallowed. And where I join the West Ham fans and the City fans and the Spurs fans is absolute frustration we all have with the inconsistencies of VAR. For sure. We've been banging on about it being a football problem, not an Arsenal problem, for years. So what? Go on, Steph.
Well, I was going to say, so two things. Some pundits already have. Jamie Carragher did a brilliant bit on Monday Night Football where he was kind of breaking it down in a similar sort of way. Paul Scholes has even come out and said, well, yeah, it's a foul. Or, yeah, what are you going to do? And the only other voices seemingly against it are Peter Schmeichel and Shay Given. And so there is a few people looking at it in that cold light of day and just judging it on that. Where I think the narrative is shifting ever so slightly is that there are some people who are saying that the inconsistency is Arsenal get away with loads at corners, and what they're equating is that the pushing and shoving, not even pushing and shoving, the jostling that sort of takes place and the blocking as the modern parlance kind of calls it, they reckon is not being called out. And they're trying to equate the blocking that we do at corners, that everyone else does as well, by the way, with a grabbing of a goalkeeper's arm, which is not quite the same thing. And yes, we've had it. I love the whataboutery that's been going on over the last few days as well, because one of the things was they picked up on, well, yeah, Arsenal did this as well, like against Leicester. And it's like, yeah, and that goal was ruled out. Ben White, and that was like 2 years ago. So it's not like we're completely above the law. It's just that people are equating two different kinds of things. Whether you want to stop complete pushing and shoving or blocking or whatever you want to call it at corners, that's one thing, but then grabbing a goalkeeper's arm is not permitted and never has. And actually, as an Arsenal fan, considering the quality of our corner kicks and our ability to score from set pieces in the past, I'm all for bringing in rules to stop the blocking and the pushing and shoving. That would be delightful, because I could only see it benefiting us more than anything.
Right, well, let's have a look back at another moment in the game which potentially was pivotal and critical to our title bid. I know you know what I'm going to bang on about, but it's the 24th minute injury to Ben White, up until which point we'd been pretty good. We dominated the first 15 minutes. We created opportunity after opportunity, mainly, from dead ball situations and so on. But the pressure was on, and we basically carried on from where we'd left off in our previous games in terms of momentum. The team selection for the third successive game, unchanged. I loved it. I thought, fair play Arteta. That's brave. I was doffing my cap. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But what the hell happened? I mean, I couldn't believe. Okay. Chris, you very bravely caveated or disclosed what you did at the precise moment that Wilson's ball crossed the line. I have to do it. I've got a little disclosure of my own. I was watching with my daughter in the Tollington on Holloway Road, and at the 90-minute mark, I went outside. I couldn't cope with it. I'd been on a blood pressure monitor earlier in the week, and I thought didn't know. I was imagining all sorts of chest pains. I have to go. And so I spoke to the most uninterested security man outside, and then I was pacing and all that. But anyway. But back, so this is what I was reminded of that because, I don't think my daughter would forgive me if I didn't acknowledge the fact that I left her alone in the pub to experience those last 10, 12 minutes on her own, for which she still hasn't forgiven me. However, earlier on then in the pub, I could hear no commentary. So Ben White was clearly injured, and the news subsequently is that his season's done and his World Cup's probably done as well. It's normally a 4 to 6 week recovery for his particular injury, but that's not a lot of time. However, that is all enough time for him to miss the remainder, which is a shame because he had erased the mistakes that were in his game, and he begins to find a bit of form again, and he was part of a successful momentum building team that we were witnessing over the last few games. And I was agog when I looked at the screen and I saw it was Zubimendi coming on. I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, well, okay, Lewis Skelly's going to go to right back. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I tell you what, I would have felt a lot better about that than Declan Rice going to right back. I'm like, what is he doing? And then our performance went downhill pretty much after that. At half-time, he then brings on Mosquera for Calafiori, fake injury Calafiori. So now not only did he take Declan Rice out of midfield and put him at right back where he was anonymous, and also a bit of a threat because he's not a right back, and Somerville is a tricky winger and could have had him on toast pretty easily. We're now losing our most effective attacking player in Calafiori at half-time. And then in the 68th minute, he takes off Zubimendi and brings on Ødegaard. So it took him 3 subs and 40 minutes to rectify his complete cock-up of a mistake by not bringing on Mosquera for... because Lewis Skelly then had to go to left-back. So Calafiori came off and Lewis Skelly was a left-back. Lewis Skelly, who was our most attack-minded midfielder, the one midfielder whose prepared to, not capable of, they're all capable of it, but he's prepared to play the vertical pass and break the lines. And now he's playing at left back, where he's been pretty average all season whenever he's played there. Like, what on earth happened? So my question was, would you have forgiven him had we dropped points? Now, that's a rhetorical question from me. But how did you... So, Steph, in the ground, what was the reaction in the away end? It
was totally met with bemusement. It just didn't make any sense at all. Round pegs, round holes. You know, what was wrong with Mascara? It would have been absolutely fine. And when he did come on, he was fine. So it was weird. And we knew it was an error because... Actually, you said about Somerville, there was a moment, it wasn't long after the shift had happened, where basically Somerville combined with the fullback on that side really well and just carried forward. And the thing it reminded me of, remember a couple of seasons ago when we drew 2-2 at Liverpool, and I'm not sure it quite worked out this way, but generally it was Granit Xhaka getting in a little sort of argy-bargy with Trent Alexander-Arnold that suddenly... because we were 2-0 up really quickly, got the crowd on their side. Now, West Ham had very little to go on in that first sort of period in the game, as you said, you know, because we were sort of bossing it, all the territory, few set pieces, balls bouncing around here and there as we were getting closer and closer to the goal. But then all of a sudden, Somerville and the fullback sort of venture forward. They're up. The crowd are suddenly on them, and you could just feel the shift and the nervousness suddenly take over with us, because all of a sudden we've got 2 or 3 players that are unfamiliar with what they're doing, and it imbalanced the whole team. It was really annoying. It did take probably too long to correct it, and he shouldn't have done it in the first place, but at least we got there in the end.
No.
I mean, I know. Look... It's outcome bias that will do it. I'd forgive him. If we go on to win the league and we're not there yet, then yeah, whatever. But God, if we don't, that could have been...
Well, if we don't, it won't be because of that decision now. Because
not now, because we saw the few points, but you know what I mean? But if it had cost us any points in that game, boy, that would have been
I was...
major.
I don't know, Chris, you were the one on the WhatsApp group. I was apoplectic. I was raging.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I'm just like angry texting. I'm like...
And I'm trying to make sense of it, thinking, okay, what's the logic here? And I thought initially, because we'd had such a good start, we're bossing possession, maybe he's playing him as that kind of inverting right back that can come inside and join the midfield, so it won't impact his game so much. But then I'm thinking, well, Calafiori's kind of pushing on and doing that, so you're leaving us maybe a bit too exposed. And so I was trying to do the logical thing, I'm trying to analyse the logic of what he's done, because I think he has played Rice there at right back in the past.
Oh, do you remember when he did it once in the run of games when we kept playing Partey at right back, and then Rice had to fill in because Partey couldn't play or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm thinking this galaxy brain thing that maybe I'm not clever enough to understand, was my kind of final conclusion. I'm not the boss. Maybe there is some sense in it. And to your point, Holly, I think we probably won the game in spite of those changes rather than because of them. I know Odegaard was brilliant, but it kind of got us out of jail, didn't it? And phew is all you can say.
Yeah, because it wasted... The reason he had to make the change at half-time was because he'd wasted a substitution slot.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that if he waited, then he's only got that and then one other. But, it concerns me because of the 3 games to come a little bit. And I just hope that... I'm blaming Heinze for it, because the 2 of them were in conflab for a good 2 minutes whilst Ben White was receiving treatment. And I'm like, well, which one of them was whose idea was that? Because...
Well, the upside is it's unlikely to happen again.
Well,
you would hope.
It can't happen again because we've only got one fit right back. Like,
no,
proper.
But in relation to something. No, but in relation to something else.
I know.
Not just with this. It's like that piece of in-game management was potentially the most costly managerial cock-up. I would struggle as an Arsenal fan to go back and find a one that could have been as costly as that.
Yeah.
And this is after I'm like, yes, he's finally doing everything that I would want him to do in terms of releasing the handbrake, shift the tactics in midfield a little bit, name an unchanged team. It was, and then that, I'm like, oh, didn't like that at all. But we'll forgive him because we won the game. Outcome bias, as you say, Steph.
And one of his other subs, Martin Odegaard obviously was like, not on my watch.
Yeah, but you're not getting credit for bringing Odegaard on.
No,
that was I'd have brought Odegaard on, and I don't know which way's up half the time. So, but on Odegaard, Chris, you were eulogising about him a little bit. That he changed the momentum again within the game, and that bit of interplay, he tried it a couple of times prior to that, but that little bit of interplay, brilliant 1-2 with Rice. That was a brilliant return from Rice as well, because it came to him an awkward kind of height and pace, and he just played it perfectly from then twinkle toes in the box, and a lovely little just set up for Trossard to score. That Trossard goal was only our first second half goal in the last 7 games.
Oh, God.
We've only scored 9 goals in our last 9 games.
Yeah, because all 3 at Fulham were in the first half.
But only 9. Thank God for our defence.
But it is. I mean, I saw a video earlier. 7 1-0s.
10
this year.
10 1-0s.
But in the Premier League.
Oh, right.
7
okay.
in the Premier League.
Right.
There's
a song in there.
Our defence is the best thing about us, and it was really good again. But I just can I just rave about Odegaard as well, because he's much maligned in quarters. I've spoken about this many times before, and he's had an interrupted and a season lacking in momentum, but he can be brilliant, and he's got to be given time to hopefully find that consistent form, because that was magic what he did. I thought it was great.
That was proper captain performance.
Give me the ball.
That's why, demanding it again and again and again,
yeah.
Demanding it. That he came onto that pitch absolutely determined that he would walk off with the 3 points.
Yep.
And obviously, what happened down the other end with the goal that wasn't, and the VAR, that's beyond his control. He'd done what he needed to do. And interesting to see his reaction when the ball hit the back of the net.
On his knees.
Yeah.
Banging the floor.
Yeah, like, that's
Screaming.
it. That's it.
I also thought it was interesting during the VAR call. It was amazing because Gabriel and Rice looked ready to go off at the ref, basically. And Odegaard comes in and just with a little hand gesture took control as captain. And those players, Gabriel was like, okay, Martin's there. He's great. I love him.
Yeah. And he's had a very, fractured season through, no major injury, but 3 nasty little ones that have kept him out. And we don't know. He's probably still playing through pain. The knee probably still isn't right. And Ez's performances and our team performances over the last couple of games probably bought him an extra week or 2 recovery time, which has probably been quite useful. Can I just go through the match stats? Because, I need to. Percentage, possession. They had 36, we had 64, but that's hardly surprising. They had 9 shots, we had 15. They had 3 shots on target, we had 4 shots on target. Touches in the box, 15 for those guys, 27 for us. 4 corners for them, 3 for us. XG, 1.32 versus 1.36. Open play, XG, 1.27 for them. I mean, that's obviously the Fernandez goal. We'll talk about that one next. We only had
Fernandez chance. It was not a goal.
We had, yes. Well, it should have been a goal, though. That's the thing. We had 0.48 from open play, XG. That's Arsenal of recent old. Not old, but, earlier in this calendar year. But
our goal was from open play, so...
Yeah, but a difficult open play goal. We didn't create a lot of chances. I mean, Gyökeres probably didn't have a sniff in the game. I'm not saying he played badly, but he didn't have a sniff in the game. But, Chris, how are you feeling when time slowed down and Fernandez... I didn't score. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's heart in mouth, like you would not believe, because I could just see it again. The calculus was going in my head of like, okay, we're going to lose this. Are Man City going to be able to? But he should have gone across the keeper. That was my first thought when he saved it. Was just like he made it, I suppose. And this is not to discredit David Raya, but he kind of made it easier for him by going near post, in that he didn't have to make such a move. He did have to make a move, but just reflexes. He made the goal as small as possible and then made the move. And
he didn't commit. I mean, it was a brilliant save.
Yeah,
it was a brilliant save, but on my brain watching it could not compute the ball wasn't in the back of the net. I didn't understand what had happened. I was too slow because I don't know, 99 times out of 100 your striker's scoring that goal. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but
well, he's going across the keeper for starters,
because he's got most of the goal to aim for. Yeah. It's like, Raya did really well, made himself big, didn't commit, so made the striker make the decision himself, didn't make the decision for him. And then moved his right leg to where the ball was going. So there was a movement. I was just
going to say, it's important to point that out, that the guy didn't just hit David Raya. David Raya actually moved to block the shot.
Yeah, it was a brilliant save.
Credit there, yeah.
And I think 4 minutes later we scored. I mean, fine margins and stuff. I know that was down the other end to you, Steph, in the ground. How much of it did you see? And do they show replays of anything like that?
None at all. Not a clue. And because we were in the lower tier, it was so low to it as well, no perspective on it whatsoever. And so it was interesting. So later on, I'm then sort of talking to people and I'm messaging people, we're getting food and drink and stuff after. And someone was talking to me about like Raya's saves. And I'm going, oh, yeah. But then I realised I was talking about that one from the header, where he sort of like leapt to the side and pushed it away. And I had no idea about the Fernandes.
There was another one.
When I saw it back, I was like, whoa, okay, we were a lot closer to that. I mean, David Raya, just like I'm running out of words and superlatives for him, because he's just class.
Okay. On that, who's our player of the season with 3 games left?
Mm-hmm.
I think after that, for me, he's pipped it now, because I can't think of a game where he was, he's made a mistake, really.
He's made mistakes, but I don't think they've
no, but not costly ones.
Costly ones, yeah. Which is difficult for a goalkeeper.
The level of consistency that is, all right, occasionally you call him out for, poor distribution, but how often does that happen? It's barely ever. So it's just incredibly consistent, and he's saved us on many occasions.
Dude, apart from that flick against Bournemouth that he got away with, that back pass, that flick. It's like,
he did stuff one up against Brentford, didn't he? Was there a Brentford one? He rolled it out straight to the Brentford player. But either way, like for me, it's just some of the saves and the reliability that he's had. Your player of the year would be the one player, if you took them away, would make a massive difference to how maybe your team had performed. And I think, Raya out of that team, and it's a different conversation we're having. He's lifted us to such a level. It's amazing. Can
I just bounce back to not the VAR decision itself, but some of one of the takeaways from it, and this narrative that is not about VAR, but people saying that moment, that VAR moment, is the moment Arsenal were granted the title. And I find that so disingenuous. Like, if you want to talk about moments, I mean, we had Man City, the 3-2 down against Everton. That Bernardo Silva rugby tackling an Everton player to the ground, who would have, that's a penalty all day long. Nothing. You're talking about moments. In the game we played against City, Havertz was through on goal, and he wasn't even a free kick. Would have been a red card if that was refereed properly. Like, there are lots of moments. I mean, we had, and I'd rather look at the moments we had in the game against West Ham. Trossard goal. That's the moment that won the game, not the VAR decision.
It doesn't suit the narrative, though.
No, it doesn't. And it's like, I think we need to rail back against the narrative. Raya's save, that's another moment that won us the game. against West Ham. Let's talk about that. Although I must admit, there's not a small part of me that isn't thoroughly enjoying the complete head loss in certain fans, and that Rory fella who supports Chelsea, Rory, what's his name?
Jennings.
Rory Jennings.
Not even the fans. I thought Peter Schmeichel was going to cry.
Oh God, I thought his head was just going to.
I thought he was going to cry.
It's brilliant. It's
This
brilliant,
is the
though, isn't
Peter
it?
Schmeichel who says, "Oh, Arsenal have been getting away with it all season." A, we haven't, and B, I do seem to remember a team in 1992 winning the Euros after they'd taken the lead against Germany, and their tactic was basically to kick it back to the keeper because the pass-back rule hadn't come in yet, and so they just kicked the game. Now, if that's not anti-football, I don't know what is. But look, he played for City. He's got his allegiances. He won't, admit those biases are there, but they are. So, yeah, whatever. I think the most disingenuous thing about the VAR decision, giving us the title, is that we haven't won it yet. We've got 2 games to get for VAR or the referees or some kind of nonsense to take place, and we've got to guard against that and hopefully,
absolutely,
just take care of business and make sure that we do take the signs, the warning signs that were there against West Ham, and hopefully guard against them.
Okay, on that, one of my questions, does Sunday's performance against West Ham ensure that we will guard against complacency because of how close that was at home to Burnley, and we'll talk about the Burnley game later in the week, but we failed to score in 2 of our previous 3 home games against Burnley, just by the way. Or will we feel like the job's done?
It's going to be largely informed by what City do against Palace, isn't it?
They're going to win 5-0.
Well, we assume so. So, if we say that's a banker, then there's no room for complacency at all. We've got to go in there and with that kind of reset, like I spoke about after the Madrid game, they're on a high, they've got to refocus for the West Ham game. And now on paper, we're all saying West Ham was the most difficult game, and we've got that out of the way. So you've got to guard against that complacency. Among the fan base as well as the players, I dare say that we have to turn up on Monday for the Burnley game and absolutely raise the roof. Because it's the 12th man thing. We can't be going in there all carnival.
I think some of the things in the game and around the West Ham game will be guarded against. I think Arteta will stick to the round pegs, round holes idea because it was obvious that didn't work, and rationally everyone will be focused and on top of things. Where I worry about slight complacency, and I, just like you, Holly, was delighted to see the same team, momentum, playing well, different dynamic in midfield with Lewis Skelly, but I did definitely want to talk about Saka's performance, because they got to a point in the game where I said out loud to the people I was with, we need to get Saka off for his own good here, because him being out there, he's clearly carrying something. He's not moving right. He's not heading into tackles right. He's not pressing with any intensity. And when he's getting the ball, nothing's sticking. He's not at it. So get him out of there, because it's damaging him, and it's probably damaging the team a little bit as well. And Madueke came on and fine. He was okay. But ultimately, he was able to allow that to lock down that side a little bit more, because up to that point, Saka was just being bypassed. And so I think team selection-wise, that's where the complacency might come in, because he might still want to trust in his star boy, and I only want him to do that if he's sure that he's going to get the right performance out of him, because it wasn't right at West Ham.
Saka needs to be honest, because clearly that rumour after the what game? What was the previous game? No,
Madrid.
Was that
Fulham.
it was the Madrid game. Saka came off after like 58, 60 minutes, something like that, and that he was in pain when he came off. We did hear that, so there was a little bit of a question mark over his participation from the start against West Ham. He clearly shouldn't have started. He was not on it, like you say, from the beginning. Even his shooting, he had a couple of shots, but they were wayward at best. When he's usually pretty accurate, pretty much always on target or just missing if it's just missing. But those shots didn't even trouble, like they troubled Rose more than anything else, and that's saying something at that stadium. In terms of the Palace, Glasner's apparently said that he's going to rotate for Man City and Arsenal and play strong in their other game because they've got their European final 3 days after us. So I think he's as a nod to fairness, I think he's actually said that. I haven't heard that, but a mate of mine messaged me and said he said that. Because he was questioned, he was asked about it.
I mean, just say, I'm going to pick, keep it stum.
But apparently there's something in the Eze contract where if Eze wins the Premier League, Palace get a bonus of, I've heard, anything between 5 and 10 million. So that's a massive incentive for Crystal Palace.
But I've seen no proof that is true.
Well, you wouldn't. The only proof you'd see is the actual contract. So you're not going to see that.
Exactly.
I've plenty of people have said it, and maybe we'll come from the same place. But it's not like beyond the realms of probability either. Often contracts are weighted in terms of
appearances and
that's why poor old, is it Harvey? Who's the guy?
Incentives.
Who's the guy at Villa from Liverpool? Harvey Elliott. Poor sod. If he makes one more appearance, Villa are obligated to buy him, but Villa don't want him. So that's it. He's been in limbo for like months, and he's only a young player. So. What were we talking about before that question was, will it guard again? Complacency. So look, my other question was, because of the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was in the game on Sunday, it just reminded me of Steph, your broken man picture after winning against Newcastle. And then I was reminded of the last 10-15 minutes at home to Chelsea, and then I was reminded of away at Brighton, the 1-0 win away at Brighton. Now, not just because of that game, but because simultaneously Forest had just equalised at City to bring it to 2-2 with 10 to 15 minutes to go. So we were keeping an eye on I must have got 10,000 steps in that 15 minutes because I was pacing up and down with that. So Chris, which games last 10, 15 minutes have you found the most torturous?
Sunderland. Away.
Okay.
Because of the way the pendulum swung and then we let it go at the very last. That was a real kicker for me. But I agree with all the others you've said in terms of clinging on for dear life and getting it over the line. Chelsea at home, that was excruciating. But yes, Sunderland really sticks out because that was one. And when Sunderland had the momentum and they were doing really well, that we made a statement by coming back so strongly.
We battered them. And then Trossard got the winner, inverted commas, and then we just stopped.
Yeah. So that was very frustrating.
So, Steph, it's funny because since we lost to City when it was doom and gloom, or the weight lifted, because since then we've played 5 games. We've only conceded a penalty goal in 5 games. That's it. 4 clean sheets. We've got into a Champions League final and we've won 3 out of 3 in the Premier League. So that's a pretty impressive. And that's what, when I ask about will we be complacent? That tells me we won't be complacent. I don't think we were complacent against West Ham. I just think we started really well, and Arteta had a brain fart with the substitution, handed the momentum to them, and then we regained it after the 68th minute substitution of Ødegaard onto the pitch, and we regained. And then what happened with the VAR stuff, that's beyond our control. We were 1-0 up, and he backed us to see that game out, and we ultimately did. But even in those last 5 games, I've named 2 of my torturous last 10-15 minutes are 2 of those games. West Ham on Sunday and Newcastle straight after the Man City game. But Steph, what about you? If you cast your mind back recently or over the further back the rest of the season, which games last 10, 15 minutes have kind of sent you nearer to your maker?
Well, it has to be the Newcastle game because there's photo evidence of it, thanks to your daughter taking sneaky pictures of me absolutely stressing out. And I think there was something in that game where it was not so much about us seeing it out. It was more about them scoring. There was the danger, Tonali in midfield, and just...
They were dangerous.
I don't know, and it wasn't long after the Carabao, and it was... I don't know. Maybe it was also about my mindset at the time as well, because as weird as I found the middle of the West Ham game, being there, away end, it just, I don't know, it wasn't, it didn't have the same level of stress. Brighton was an interesting one because I think because the Man City game was going on as well, I didn't find it as stressful. It was quite exhilarating in a way.
Well, it was the Man City game that was stressing me out probably more than the Arsenal game, even though we weren't playing well. Saka scored in that game like in the first 10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brighton, and that was it. It's like,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But there was something about the Newcastle performance where I worried that we could concede and we didn't, whereas the others, less so. But it's been like that all year. I mean, Forest away 0-0. Just that was a grueling 90 minutes. Liverpool away at the start of the season, 90 minutes. I had a bad back. Liverpool home was pretty crap as well. So
Man United home.
Well, that was a defeat. That was just shit.
Man United away. First game of the season.
Yeah.
We're not a bit like us.
Hey, we're grinding.
All over the place as fans of Arsenal this season. In this podcast, I'm a bit all over the place. Should we do our man of the match in like 4 takeaways from Sunday's game? So, Chris, who was your man of the match?
Raya.
Okay, we've talked about about him already. All right, Steph.
Raya.
Okay, I've gone for Gabriel. I thought he was brilliant.
Okay,
and there was that block he did as well, which was, I mean, if you look at the block from behind the kicker's viewpoint, Raya had gone the wrong way. If Gabriel hadn't got the block on it, Raya wasn't getting it, and it was on target, you could see. So that was a price. But I just thought Gabriel was just immense the whole game. I thought he was really good. So I've gone for him.
Havertz loved that block as well. He properly shook his head. Loved it.
Maybe he sensed that
yeah.
he could see the bigger picture with that, what would have happened had he not got to it. Impressed by, Chris?
Captain, my captain. Odegaard.
It's why I became a teacher, that film. Steph?
Odegaard.
Okay.
Again, our position in the ground. So, we're at the end, but we're not right behind the goal. We're off to one side. So those passes he played, literally, knife through butter stuff, just cutting through West Ham, knowing that Noni or Rice or Mosquera was kind of coming round the side. He just had his vision back. And it was just, we were at the perfect angle to see that. And you could see he was looking for it the whole time. That was brave Odegaard. That wasn't, control Odegaard. But then the circumstances sort of aligned it. He can go for it. And it's just brilliant to see. More of that, please.
I went for Raya because I did Gabriel as Raya is most impressive. So I had to do that. Positive takeaway, Chris? 3
points. And I think I wrote this when I didn't know I was going to be on the pod. But also... the outrage that all of this has caused, this also made me very happy.
Steph?
Oh, the goal celebrations at Trossard. My knee hurts because there was just bodies everywhere, and you were in the seats in front. You know how because we only ever stand in the away ends. So the seat in front of you basically comes up to your shin. So I've just got bruises, and there was just bodies everywhere. It was incredible, like the limbs of the season for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
it did look good. It did look good. And Saliba just dived straight in there as well.
It's hard. When Saliba celebrates, there's a picture someone took. He's climbing over the barrier and he's got this look of just anger. I'm gonna
veins popping out of his forehead.
Yes, I'm so happy. I've got that, but in an angry way.
He booted a ball away as well. Again, he did
off the cone.
Off the cone. It's his thing. It's his thing.
Just love him.
Yeah.
My positive takeaway is that VAR got it right, because there was no guarantee that was going to happen. And that can you imagine? I don't know if I wouldn't be able to talk about it now if they had allowed the goal and we seen all those angles.
Imagine Arteta's reaction.
Oh, I loved his reaction. They were very brave, he said.
Oh, yeah, he was really...
They had courage.
Yeah. Negative takeaway, Chris?
Benny Blanco is the only negative, really, because, look, with all the ebbs and flows of the game, ultimately we got the 3 points, but the only downside is Benny Blanco.
Steph?
Rice at right back.
Well, mine's connected to that. My negative takeaway is Arteta's Galaxy Brain substitution. That was just like mad.
And Zubimendi wasn't good when he came
no,
on. No,
but like, I mean,
that ball he put out for Eze.
But it was a midfield of Zubimendi and Lewis Skelly. When have they played together? Okay, it was just all he did nobody any favours. No. Rice at right back, Zubimendi and Lewis Skelly together, Calafiori off the pitch, Lewis Skelly back to left back. The whole thing was rotten.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm just a little bit concerned about that. So, Mikel, if you're listening, do better. I am a little bit concerned about how it appears everybody has already granted us the league title.
Me too.
I don't like that.
No.
What time should we meet for the parade?
Shut up. You say that. I mean, there's all sorts going on. There's stuff going on with Champions League final tickets and people organising that. There's other people that I know are trying to make plans to somehow get into the Crystal Palace Stadium at the end of the season. I'm like, whoa. There's 3 games. City's 2 games and our one against Burnley to happen first before anything.
And I've said this before we started recording to you, Steph. I'm going to Burnley, obviously, and I'm going to Palace away. I want, not expect, I want it to be a party at the Palace for the whole day. So in order for that to happen, City will stuff Palace. We should beat Burnley, right? We should beat Burnley. And where I think it might go our way is 3 days after they play an FA Cup final against Chelsea, where hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully Chelsea will win. I don't want that. But hopefully City will lose. I do want that.
In extra time.
Extra time, penalties, sinkholes,
whatever,
everything. Yeah. Lightning strikes. Hail.
And I think with Bournemouth, it's delighted Villa only drew at Burnley. Bit of a warning for Arsenal there. Meaning because Villa have to finish 5th and win the Europa League for 6th to qualify for the Champions League, and Bournemouth are within a real good chance of that. But they'll get Europe if they fall short, just a little bit shy of 6th. They'll get into Europe, which is amazing for Bournemouth. So they will have. And I when we looked at the last 5 games, it wasn't Everton away that I thought City would slip up in. It was Bournemouth away. I will be cock a hoop if we become league champions without kicking a ball. I do not need to be there when it happens. I do not want to be going to Palace knowing that we have to win the game. Obviously, I prefer that to waiting on a Villa result at the Etihad, which isn't going to happen. So obviously, I don't want that. But yeah, I'm happy for City to drop points, and then it can be party at the Palace all day. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that's what I want to happen. I'm allowed to say what I want.
Yeah. But I think what's happening with a lot of the rival fans is they're heaping almost like this begrudging praise on us by way of adding pressure.
It's copium for them, though.
That's what. They're saying. Well, you're the worst winners of since whatever. Not that I give two.
But on that, if we're the worst winners, why are we winning it? Like, how crap are the others? And in fact, on that, people are like besmirching this season for its like low quality. This is possibly the most exciting season in decades. league titles going down to 2 games to go at least, but probably the last, if we're honest, the last game of the season. Champions League qualification is by no means secured when
and
you can get a
teams
team
like Bournemouth.
But Bournemouth, Brighton and
Brentford
can all get into the Champions League. That's ridiculous. Aston Villa and Crystal Palace are in European finals, as are Arsenal. Relegation. Guaranteed one of West Ham, 60,000 seater stadium, or Spurs, one of the big 6, are going to be relegated. This season is off the charts in terms of excitement. So,
and you haven't mentioned Liverpool's appalling defence of their title, which they seem to have kind of got away with in the media, really.
And Chelsea's, fine and crazy managers and just general, spending £1 billion ending mid-table. Brilliant.
Yeah, so this is a brilliant season. And if we're so rubbish, why is no one beating us? So we're up against Manchester City, serial champions, 5 of the last 6 seasons. Liverpool, champions, added 400 million pounds worth of talent. I don't know, maybe I'm making that 250 million pounds worth of talent to their squad in the summer. And where are they? Chelsea, £1 billion spenders. Manchester United, where are all these teams if we're so bad?
We've won more games than United have played.
Yeah. What is it you say, Steph? They hate us because they hate us.
Yeah, love it.
Right. I'm out. I'm done. Have you got anything else to contribute?
No, other than just I've very much enjoyed watching all the incognito Arsenal fan coverage. All these brilliant shots of underneath people's heads as they're filming themselves from below, going, oh no. Oh no.
Can we talk about that idiot with the Champions jersey, or shall we?
No one seems to know who he is.
They reckon he's a plant like the
Yeah, he was in the front
was.
And then to the right of me, so I had no idea until later when I saw it on Match of the Day.
Did you see the 2 old dears alongside him?
I did. One of them
Hugging.
is she's like the secretary of the Arsenal Supporters Club that opposite
excellent.
on St Thomas's Road or whatever.
They were getting emotional. That was lovely. The camera should have focused on those 2, not that idiot beside them, gurning with the Champions shirt.
Do you know what made me think it was a bit suspicious? Was there was no numbers. If you're gonna get name and number on a shirt, it just said Champions, no number. You're gonna get a number, right? You're gonna get Champions, and then the year you got it.
26.
26, exactly. So fishy to me, fishy.
Yeah, we don't need.
Not condoned by any Arsenal fan.
No,
we're waiting until it's done.
I've only seen Arsenal fans pour scorn and bewilderment upon him. But anyway, right. We done. Let's get back to enjoying a week stress-free of Arsenal. But come on, Palace.
Yeah.
Where Eagles dare, or what is it? Is that? Anyway, right, okay, brilliant. Look, we'll be back on Friday for a preview of the Burnley game, which doesn't kick off until the Monday evening. So so look out for that. In the meantime, enjoy your week off. Enjoy listening, watching us as well as all the other Arsenal-related stuff. And keep the faith. Come on, you Gunners. 2 to go. Come on. Bye.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.